North Korea's food shortage is about to take a deadly turn for the worse, experts say. So South Korea CNN. Concerns about North Korea's chronic food shortages are growing, with multiple sources suggesting this week that deaths due to starvation are likely. Some experts say the country has hit its worst point since the 1990s, famine known as the Arduous March caused mass starvation and killed hundreds of thousands of people, or the estimated 3 to 5% of what was then the 20 million strong population. Trade data, satellite images, and assessment by the United Nations and South Korean authorities were or suggested the food supply has now dipped below the amount needed to satisfy minimum human needs, according to Lucas Rengifo-Keller, a research analyst at the Peterson Institute for International Economics. Even if the food was distributed equally, something close to inconceivable in North Korea, where the elite and military take a priority. Rengifo-Keller said you would have a hunger-related death. South Korean officials agree with that assessment, with Seoul announcing recently that it believes the deaths from starvation are occurring in some areas of the country, though producing solid evidence to back up those claims is made difficult by the country's isolation. Few experts doubt its assessment. Even before COVID pandemic, nearly half of the North Korean population was undernourished, according to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization. 3 years of closed borders and isolation can only have made matters worse. In the sign of just how desperate the situation has become, North Korean leader Kim Jong un held a 4-day Workers' Party meeting this week to discuss the revamp of the country's agricultural sector, calling for a fundamental transformation in farming and state economic plans, and the need of strengthen state control of the farming. North Korean trucks loaded with sacks of maize wait for clearance at the Chinese border in 1997 during the famine period known as the Arduous March. But various experts say Pyongyang has only itself to blame for the problems. During the pandemic, Pyongyang ramped up its isolationist tendencies, erecting a second layer of fencing along 300 kilometers of each border with China and squeezing what little cross border trade it has access to. And in the past year, it has spent the previous precious resources carrying out a record number of missile tests. There been there's been shoot on site order at the border that would put in place in August 2020 a blockade on travel and trade, which has included what very limited official trade there was before, said Lina Yun, a senior researcher at Human Rights Watch. During 2022, China officially exported nearly 56 million kilograms of wheat or muslin flour and 53,280 kilograms of cereals in grain flakes form to North Korea, according to Chinese customs data. But Pyongyang's clampdown has strangled up unofficial trade, which, as Yoon points out, is one of the main lifelines of the markets inside North Korea, where ordinary North Koreans buy products. Cases in which people smuggle Chinese products into the country with a bribe to the border guard to look the other way have been next to non-existent since the borders closed. Various experts say the root problem is years of economic mismanagement and that Kim's effort to ramp up state control further will only make things worse. The North Korean borders need to open and they need to restart trade and they need to bring these things in for agriculture to improve and they need food to feed that people. But right now they are prioritizing isolation. They are prioritizing repression, Yoon said. North Korean leader Kim Jong un addressed the Workers' Party of Korea in Pyongyang, North Korea, on February 26, 2023. But as Rengifo-Keller pointed out, it is not in Kim's interest to allow the unofficial trade of the past to re-emerge in this dynastically ruled country. The regime does not want a flourishing entrepreneur class that can threaten its power. Then there are missile tests Kim remains obsessed with and his constant refusals of offers of aid from his neighbor. South Korea's Foreign Minister Park Chin told CNN in the interview last week that the only way that North Korea can get out of this trouble is to come back to the dialogue table and accept our humanitarian offer to the North and make a better choice for the future. Prime Minister Hancocks, who told CNN Thursday, said the situation is worsening. Our intelligence showed because it's clear that their policies are changing. The chairman, the Kim Jong Un, would like to put a lot of pressure to make state dictated, supply food to their people, which will not function. Seoul's Ministry of Unification was quick to point out Pyongyang continues to focus on its missile and nuclear program rather than feeding its own people. The visitor looks over the border between South and North Korea from the Unification Observation Post in Pazu, South Korea. In a briefing last month, the vice spokesperson Lee Hyo-jung said, according to local and international research institutions, if North Korea had used the expense of the missiles it launched last year on food supplies, it would have been enough to purchase over 1 million tons of food, believed to be more than enough to cover North Korea's annual food shortage. Seoul's Rural Development Agency believes the North Korea's crop production last year was 4% lower than the year before, suffering food flooding and adverse weather. Rengifo-Keller fears the culmination of these effects, coupled with the regime's misguided approach to economic policy, could have a disastrous impact on the already suffering population. This is the chronically malnourished population for decades. High rates of stunting and all signals point to the deteriorating situation. It certainly wouldn't have much to push the country into famine.